It's a Twitch Partner Lite is basically what it is.
Oh, so it's like kind of what they used to have, but you don't need to be like rolling in money already to get it.
Yeah, more or less.
Right.
And the requirements of it are very low.
Nice.
Very, very low. And it's not going to have subscriptions yet. It's something that they're talking about coming sometime soon for it. But it will at least help gain you like a portion of ad revenue and allow you to have people cheer with bits.
Nice.
Yep. So, and it's like, super simple requirements. You have to have like
Fuck.
100 followers, like 3 concurrent viewers, broadcast at least 7 days a month, and have I think it was like only like 8 hours of content a month, and that's it.
Oh wow, that's not
You're
bad
in.
at all. Well, we just need the 100 followers.
You, not us. You.
I don't have 100 followers.
You don't have 100 followers, really?
No, I have like 80 something.
No shit. I would have thought you had a few.
That's not that far off.
No,
I want to go to this Disney Star Wars Starship Luxury Resort thing. Man, put me on a ship, guy.
All right, are we good? Am I gonna start?
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean,
All right.
do what you want.
Cool. Hey, tell me something.
Pirate is free.
Can you hear this?
Mind of a Geek is a production of Inked Geek Studios.
You can?
Get this?
I can.
Nice. All right, good.
I'm super surprised you can hear that.
Well, no. That's why I did
So
that.
few times do things work in our favor.
Right. So I used to use a computer soundboard. I switched to my iPad soundboard thinking maybe Skype wouldn't block it anymore. Now it doesn't. Good. I'm happy now. That was my whole point in switching to this.
Yeah, I figured.
All right, cool. All right, here we go.
Mind of a Geek is a production of Inked Geek Studios. Get this and other great shows at inkedgeekstudios.com. To help support Mind of a Geek and IG Studios, go to patreon.com/IG Studios. As little as $1 a month can help support this show and other great content. We thank you.
Me, thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the revival episode of Mind of a Geek. I don't know what number it is. I know it's still season 3. But yeah. Oh, Neinball. Thanks for the tweet. So yeah, I'm here. I'm with Brandon. Brandon, how are you?
Hey, I'm here
You are here.
with Nate.
We are back. Hopefully on a steady schedule.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine. We have Mind of a Geek wasn't actually completely our fault. We had a no-show and a cancellation and family illnesses, and I think we had.
I was really sick last week.
Yeah, we had the issue with you, and well, even last week when I emailed that guest and said, "Hey, we're gonna have to postpone. My co-host is sick." He never responded.
Well, I guess we didn't really lose out then,
Yeah,
did we?
so like it's just been a whole lot of shit. But fortunately, this week we have a guest that is not only a guest but a friend and a returning guest. Yeah, welcome from the West March Workshop, fellow Diablo 3 player and podcaster, Neinball. Neinball, how you doing?
Oh, hi.
How's it going?
Going pretty good. How's everything over there?
We're
It
happy
sounds
you're
like you guys
reliable.
have had some interesting journeys in podcasting there.
Yeah, it we took a long break and we got back on track and we got everything, we rebranded and we got everything all set and things were good to go, and then we were solid for like a month.
Yep.
And-
It's like adventures in babysitting with dicks and microphones.
Starting off with a dick joke. I already feel at home.
Hey.
But no, we had one scheduled week that we were planning to miss, which was the week of PAX East, because I was going to be out of town. And then everything just spiraled downhill. It was bad. But hey, here we are. We're back. It's good. I can't talk. Yeah, so, I mean, you've been on before. We covered West March. We covered... oh, look, Ashley. Hello.
Oh, she made it.
She did.
She tried to be there last time, but she couldn't get a connection because she lives in the woods.
The woods. She's a woodland creature.
She is that.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
welcome
so
nonetheless.
we, we've talked about the show before, but we can certainly go over it a little bit again for anyone that maybe didn't catch that past episode. So you are one of the hosts of BlizzPro's West March Workshop.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you give us a brief synopsis of what that is for anyone that may not know?
West March Workshop, it is a Diablo podcast. Of course, we cover a lot of things about Diablo 3, but we tend to take like little like segues and diversions and stuff like that into just like the history of Diablo, the previous games. We try to focus a lot on like two kind of like key aspects. The first and foremost being the community. You know, like what is it that the community is looking for? You know, what type of information would, you know, help make the community a better place? Like what's a top build? Or, you know, people will send in questions, comments. They'll send in like, oh, look at this awesome item that I found in the game. I want to go and show off. You know, specifically, they'll send in stuff to try and make me or my co-host Leviathan jealous. Mm-hmm. And then the second big thing is we always try to look at any of the changes from the mind of the developer. You know, it's like, what is it as a game developer? Why are they making this change? Why are they nerfing your class? You know, why are they, you know, buffing this item or something along those lines? So we always try to, you know, take a little bit of it and, this is, you know, you guys in the community, you might just be seeing it as, oh, they're reducing wizard damage or something like that. But you have to understand why. You know, why is it better for the game, and, you know, so on and so forth.
Right.
So those are like the two big things that we always try to focus in on the show. And like I mentioned, our show is, you know, it's a mature rated game, so we can be a bit mature, and usually involves, you know, at least a couple of dick jokes thrown in there throughout each episode.
Dick jokes are essential. Now, do you
100% are.
Do you think it's necessarily things that are better for the game, or things that they just tell us are better for the game?
We don't agree with 100% of all the decisions that the developers make, but there's definitely a lot of things that is just, you know, some like there was one big thing like in the Diablo community that a lot of people complained about, and that was Twister Wizards. Mm-hmm. And that was an unforeseen interaction with an item the developers made that they thought was cool, because it would go through and increase the damage of the arcane twister, which is like, it's a random ability. You can't control it. You'd go and you'd cast a spell and you'd have like this little tornado that would go in random directions. So they figured, oh, well, you know, if we have this thing that increases the damage per tornado that's out, it'd be kind of fun. It'd be cool. You know, you can't control it, so it's not going to be like the best thing that there is. But then, of course, the players found a way to go and control it. Well, if I cast all these things like straight into a corner, the tornadoes can't go anywhere, and we just have to pull all the mobs to that corner to kill everything.
Of course.
Yeah. And so then it took a little while, and they were like the number one top DPS build for like groups for the longest time, until they finally just recognized, well, we have to nerf it. We have to break this.
We have to break the twister.
Yeah, because otherwise it was like just the way that damage and gear and all that scaled. It was ridiculous. And after they broke that, like your average like high end clears and stuff like that dropped. You know, people weren't able to do as hard of content, because Diablo kind of scales infinitely. Every time that you complete, their end game is called Greater Rifts, and you have like Greater Rift 1 through 1000 or what have you. And, you know, like 100 is a high Greater Rift, and with groups you can go a little bit higher if you do like a 4-man group. And these Twister Wizards were going to like 120, 125, which was it's just insane. If you don't know anything about Diablo, it's every 5 Greater Rift levels basically like doubles the health of, you know, the mob. So it might only be like 20 rifts higher, but it's, you know, a couple 100%, you know, increased in the abilities.
Right.
And so you know, the highest Greater Rifts that people were able to clear dropped for a little bit when they released that. Power creep and new items that they've introduced have kind of started bringing it back up there, but you had more options, and it's not as big of an outlier.
Nate knows all about about Greater Rifts, but every time I power level, I get my fucking ass killed immediately. I get pissed.
That was my question. I mean, about the show, one thing I wanted to say is the thing I really like about your guys' show is that for Diablo, I'm a seasonal player, and you know what I mean by that. But for someone that may not know, Diablo's their ladder system is seasons. It's every like 2 or 3 months. So I go on, I try and finish the seasonal journey, which I'm really close to doing within the first week or two, and then I put the game down till the next season drops. So that's how I play. For me, one of the qualities about your show that I like is Diablo can be very repetitive. So if I have a day or two that I am bored and just don't feel like hopping on, like I'll listen to, I listen to the show anyway, but I'll listen to an episode of your show and you make it sound really fun again. And I'm suddenly not bored of the game anymore. So it's nice to kind of, because you share that community excitement. I play hardcore just like you guys do. I think it adds more thrill to the game. If dying serves no penalty, there's no point. But I mean, people that may not want to, that's fine. Everyone,
hardcore is the way to go. You pay more attention and you're more engrossed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Both my co-host Leviathan and I, we both play hardcore. For those that don't know, it seems that it's like hardcore modes they're like really unique to ARPGs, and I want to say like the Diablo 2 was like the first one to have like that true like hardcore experience back in 2000. Diablo 1, you didn't have a choice; it deleted everything except for when you last saved, so it was hardcore light.
Right.
But with like the hardcore mode, you only have one life. If you die in the game, you lose everything on your character, all of your gear. You keep the stuff that you keep in your stash because that's shared to all of your characters or what have you. But when you're going through and doing something, and it's not like World of Warcraft where you can just go and continually die against a challenge and try again. Where once you enter into like a greater rift or something, if something goes wrong, you can lose hundreds of hours that you might have put into a character, and that for some, that itself originally sounds extremely off-putting, and that's why a lot of people never even attempt to give hardcore a try.
It's definitely it definitely comes with weight.
Yes.
I've gotten skilled to the point where I typically won't die until I'm pushing. Like, I can get where I want to get in the season before I risk dying. The Demon Hunter I'm on right now, I think I'm on its 3rd season, and it's got over 200 hours of gameplay with the rebirth. So that tells you how often I die. But again, the highest I usually push is the mid to somewhat high 70s. I've yet to solo an 80.
Yeah, basically you're going to get like the seasonal journey done, and kind of like that's the end for like your season adventure there, and that's what I mean. The vast majority of people that play Diablo do, and I think it's something that we talk about on the show. We have nothing against people that play normal mode or softcore, but it's an experience that you just can't really find in like any other game, and so it's something that you should try, because you won't. Just going into it knowing that, well, if my character dies, I lose everything. As you're going through and you level, if it's the first time trying it, you might die once or twice, and you think, oh, that's not too bad. You start over. Once you get that character to 70, once you get your first complete like set bonus done, and you get some good items, and you're running like your beginner, like your greater of 20s and 30s. Then as soon as you go through and like have your cheat death passive proc, or you get really low on life, you'll feel like the anxiety. You'll feel that tension, and it's something that you can't get in like almost any other game, except like unless it's like a competitive game where there's actually something on the line, because when you're playing this, your character and all those hours gearing them out are on the line every time that you actually like go and push into some more difficult territory.
And I tell you, that moment when you do lose a character and you're like, oh, well, I got a full set of Marauders in the stash. I'm okay. Wait a second. All 3 of my gems were like level 65. Fuck. Oh, wait a second. I also had Caldesian's Gift on 3 pieces of my gear. Fuck.
Yep. I just re-leveled a Demon Hunter because I lost my Demon Hunter earlier this season.
Yeah.
Right before the Necromancer beta started, like literally the night before, then the Necro beta started, and it was like, well, I'm putting my season 10 off for a little bit, and then they removed the Necromancer for the beta temporarily, and so okay, I'll get that Demon Hunter back up to 70, and so now I'm already back up there and running some 60s, just trying to re-level my gems.
I'd like to talk about the Necro a little bit because I didn't get a chance to try the beta, but before I do, man, is the Shadow set not ridiculous?
Now that anyone that's a fan of my show will know that I've always had like this love for the Shadows set forever, but it always had issues. It was a very different
It's like
play
they
style.
removed them all.
Yeah, and then like this season, this last patch, the only thing that they did was they added in an item so that way you throw 3 daggers instead of 1, and it made a world of difference.
For the first time ever, I soloed a 70 within the first weekend of the season.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. It's ridiculous.
And then I literally had to come here so you could show me.
Yeah, I was like, look at this shit. One thing, if anyone is listening that is considering trying hardcore, or if they play Diablo, the only thing I will say is hardcore, granted you're going to lose your time, but it's a much softer blow if you're playing with friends. Because I've run with you guys before, but I'm too intermittent of a player to kind of be in the clan, because you guys there's always people wanting to get in, so you need active people.
Yeah, and that's one thing. It's never any offense, but we've got like a 2-week activity policy.
But like I have 3 or 4 solid people. Actually, a few of the people I'm pretty solid with are Blizz Pro players, like Gorgo, and Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So, but no, I have a group of people that's 3 or 4 strong. That if we're all playing together, the second one of us goes down, we drop everything in power level. And these days, I mean, I guess it depends on the class, but with me as a demon hunter, if you go down, you're 70 in 20 minutes.
Oh yeah,
so
like 2-3 rifts.
Yeah, and we actually a couple times this season, with full Bjorns and Canes, it's level 70 in 1 rift.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that was like my one problem. It's like I was so focused this season. It's like I was doing so well that I never even bothered leveling up my Gym of Ease. So yeah, it took me a little bit longer. Also, I always hate getting a power level, so I went through and I did it the old-fashioned way, leveled myself. But when you have all the the gear and the high-level gyms, it still only takes like maybe an hour and a half or so.
He power leveled me 4 times.
4 or 5.
4 times, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I said, "Fuck it."
See, I don't even level my own.
I just went and did it myself.
I don't even level my own character initially. My buddy Steve Fuzzy, that I've been gaming with for a few years, because we do shows on Friday nights. Seasons start on Friday nights, so I let him get to 70, get like Torment 4 or 5 on farm, and then I log in and he power levels me.
Yeah.
I don't even have to do the initial leveling. It's very nice.
That's a very long tradition of ours on the West March Workshop, where with those season starts, we go through and we do like an all-night gaming session. Yeah. I usually can only go about like 12 hours, but my co-host Leviathan, he goes for like 30.
Yeah,
he does like a 30-hour like continuous stream.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old are you guys?
I will be turning 33 in August.
So you're my age. How can you do that? I can't play. I can't play for that long, man. I'm old and tired.
I've had days, especially like going to. I mean, now it kind of sucks because I have Thursday, Friday off, so like the season starts at the end of my weekend. But it used to be I'd have Sunday, Monday off, and if I had the capability of a new season, wake up to go to sleep Sunday would be Diablo.
Yeah, no.
Like 9 times out of 10, I only have 1 chapter by the end of I only have 1 chapter left by the end of the first weekend, and it's not even a lack of playing; it's always the fucking conquest.
10 years ago, sure. Now, I just can't do it.
There's
two hours, 3 hours at a time.
I am like Iron Man, and my computer is like the energy thing inside of me. That name is escaping me right now.
You mean this is your wife? That's what you mean.
But
if you could see
reactor?
Yes, thank you.
The arc reactor. Mrs. Arc Reactor. Nate Ford. If you could see what we're looking at right now, though, you would understand why he never wants to leave. Have you ever seen Serenity?
Yes.
So, Mr. Universe? Mm-hmm. That's what this room looks like. It's ridiculous.
Very nice. Very nice. I've always my favorite one has always been referring it to like the swordfish setup.
Yeah. It's like that, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like a 4K TV is a backup monitor right now.
Or like Lucius Fox and Batman, and
well, I don't have that many monitors.
Oh, it's getting close, dude.
Give it another year.
You're embarrassing me.
No, I'm not. I'm sucking the dick of your technology.
Filleting my hardware.
Good times.
Jesus. So yeah, Necro, how is it? Is it everything we want from the D2 rebirth of the Necro? Is it good, bad, indifferent?
Well, if you ever played the Necromancer in Diablo 2, you probably have really high expectations of what it should be. When if they're going to go through and do the Necromancer again in another Diablo game, and well, it does not disappoint in any way, shape, or form.
Nice.
It is this is like a cliched saying for me at this point, but I think it probably took me like 4 or 5 years to realize that there was another class in Diablo 2 besides the Necromancer. So it is by far and away like my most played class in Diablo 2, and it hit every single thing on the checklist of what it needs to be successful. It was just everything from like your skeletal minions to the corpse explosion. It's got it all, and it plays like a dream. There's a couple of like graphical bugs and some like lag delay on
things
some skills,
clean
but
up
it's
before release.
yeah, it's just it's first pass of the beta, so I'll give them a pass on that one.
So are we fairly confident we're gonna have the Necro for season 11?
I want to say yeah. I want to say with just if this is like their first pass for it, I could easily see them going through and having this released in time by July for season 11.
Right. Now visually, what does he look like? Just the male version. Like, does he look kind of like Zool in Heroes?
Kind of. It's the whole pale white hair.
Right, Necro. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much. Think like kind of like 80s or 70s like British death metal rock star, and yeah, you about got that.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen like the concept art or some of the
I haven't looked because I wanted to be surprised.
Yeah, because even just like their starting set, it's just like he's got like a black leather vest on with his just like bare chested out there, and like black leather pants is like that's what the starting gear on him looks like.
Nice.
It's basically looks like he just got off of like an old like as like a backup singer for Black Sabbath.
What does the female model look like?
Basically the same
idea.
tits.
Okay, because I'm a big fan of the now this is going to sound weird to anyone that doesn't know what I'm saying, but I'm a fan of the naked look, like where they're not wearing any gear and it's just like the clothes that are tailored to their theme. Oftentimes when it comes to my characters, I'll like once I have my gear, I use the invisibility die. And then that way it's just like, they look like what they look like, as opposed to like, the demon hunter looking like some sort of ninja or some sort of weird Power Ranger with horns. Like she just looks like a demon hunter. And I like that. So I'm excited that their starter look is pretty badass looking. So
yeah, because that was actually one of the things that they talked about, going back to BlizzCon with the original reveal. One of the original concepts for it was, like rock star of the dead. And they nailed that.
Nice.
For certain.
Well, that's exciting. Is the gameplay different enough from the Witch Doctor for it to be?
Oh, yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Night and day difference.
Okay, because I know that was the big contention, was that the Witch Doctor is just a reskinned necromancer. Like, but instead of skeletons, it's zombies and things like that. But it does play a lot differently.
Oh yeah,
nice.
Because I played around pretty extensively with like a pet-based build, and one of my favorite Witch Doctor specs was the Helltooth Gargoyle, which was a pet-based build.
Yeah.
And with the Witch Doctor pet builds, even like the Zuni pet builds and such, you feel more like the pets are doing all of the work, and you're just kind of in the back supporting them.
Right.
I'll cast a spell that just like buffs their damage, and then that's about it. But when you're playing as the Necromancer, you're actually like really actively engaged, because your pets have, in order to get the most out of them, they have active abilities. You can't just sit back and let them go and attack.
Right.
You have to be actively controlling them or using their active skills to get them to actually like get them engaged and to be doing like actual damage.
Nice. I'm excited to play it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and oh my god, I also was playing around before they took them off the beta with a corpse explosion build. That was one of my problems I was mentioning earlier. A lot of the corpse skills are a little bit wonky. It doesn't like sometimes the casting animation or just like there's a cast delay in between using the spell. It seems a bit off. It's kind of a little bit hit or miss, but when it works properly, it's so like just amazing. You're just seeing like like 20 corpses at a time just explode in these like little tiny like blood nukes just going off. It's awesome. And then they even have this one where it feels as if they ripped something straight out of Dead Space, where you actually you like animate the corpses and they like sprout like spider legs and they run at mobs, like throw themselves, latch on, and then explode.
Nice. Is there any one particular build that you've played so far that you think is going to be the standout?
Well, with the Necromancer beta, there were no class-specific items and no sets.
Oh, okay. So we don't really know.
So yeah, they've data mined because even though the Necromancer hasn't been added back into the beta just yet, they put a patch into the PTR realm that you can kind of connect to, download, and then extrapolate. So the guys over at Diablo Fans have actually data mined that, even though it hasn't gone live yet, with just some of the proposed set bonuses that they will have for the Necromancer. And it seems that they're leaving them. It sounds bad, like when I say that, leaving them a bit generic, but that means that the set bonuses themselves, they're not like, with a few exceptions, they're not like specified to just using this one skill. Like with Shadow's Mantle is not a generic set for the Demon Hunters. It's a very specific set. Right. You're using Impale or you're doing it wrong.
Right. But whereas like Marauders, you can go multi-shot, you can go cluster bomb.
Exactly.
Or cluster arrow. Like, it's more
like
open-ended.
Marauders is more of a generic set. It gives you these damage bonuses. It does like force you to use Sentry, but then you have a lot of options with how you particularly want to play the build.
With Marauders, if you're not using Manticore and cluster arrow, you're doing it wrong.
yeah. Though there are like multi-shot speed clear builds for Marauders, right. So they're but the Necromancer ones are open. They're a bit more open-ended, so they're going to allow you to tailor how you want to play within like these kind of overarching themes. You have obviously a pet set, which oddly enough is one of the less generic ones, just because you're forced to use Skeletal Mage.
Okay.
But then you can use the Skeletal Mage and Army of the Dead. Army of the Dead is like a big like 2-minute long cooldown nuke, but it greatly reduces the cooldown and like gives a huge bonus to its damage. But then you're free to use any of the other pet spells that you want, whether it's Revive, Raise Skeletons, Golem. You have the play around that you can do there, but you're locked into at least using Army of the Dead and Skeletal Mage. You have a blood set, which is actually a really cool mechanic that they've added in with the Necromancer, where you have a lot of your different types of spells. The most powerful rune for these types of spells is the blood rune, which costs health when you use it. So the other runes all might slow an enemy. They might heal you or increase the radius or reduce the casting cost. But the only rune that increases the damage of the base spell, you then have to also trade. That's going to cost like 10% of your health every time that you cast a spell.
It'll be fun to do some hardcore builds with those.
Oh yeah, and the blood set looks to be amazing, because it's like every time that you cast a spell that costs health, it increases the health cost of the next spell, but then also increases the damage, and you can stack it up higher and higher and higher.
I can see some crazy accidental suicides.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Until that gets figured out.
Yeah, but they did
fuck.
And this is just like one of those things. We haven't done a Westmarch Workshop episode yet since they implemented these changes. On my own personal stream, I did a little breakdown of this, and it's something that I really like from like the design element is they also have a defensive mechanic built into that set. So it's every time that you heal yourself while at full life, it increases your max health by that amount up to the point where you double your health. And so since the health costs for the blood runes is a fixed percentage, like 10%. It doesn't matter whether your health is, like 1,000 or, like 200,000. It's going to take 10%.
Right.
So even though the cost will scale, the relative damage that enemies will be doing to you is halved because you have double the amount of health. So it increases it even. It's an interesting way of giving you like this nice defensive bonus that allows you to be a bit more greedy with your spells.
Right.
You're still taking the same amount of damage from mobs, but relatively you're taking half because you have double the health.
Right. So it makes it so it uses health as opposed to mana.
Oh no, it still
both?
does. It still does also cost essence, which is like the necromancer's
essence. Okay,
version of
yeah.
mana. But it also costs the health in addition to that.
Okay, so you're using essentially the essence to cast the spell and then the blood to boost it up.
Exactly.
Right. I'm assuming you probably use some vitality gems in that build. So maybe.
Maybe.
Well, where it's all
maybe.
percent based, maybe not.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Because it's percent based, if you increase your health, you just increase the cost of the spell.
Right. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited to watch other people figure it out, and then when I make my character, hit Shift L to open the leaderboard and decide what build I want to do.
Doing some of the blood builds were actually really nice because they are like the increased damage. They felt really good for like going through and doing a lower difficulty for like just speed running.
Right.
And I did push a little bit with a blood pet build. But all of the spells usually will have some type of blood rune, and they'll have different functionality. But then it costs health. With the skeletal mage, it's a very powerful skill. But it basically what it is you summon the skeletal mage that has a very powerful attack, but it only lasts 6 seconds, and then it goes away. With the blood rune, it lasts 8 seconds, and so you get more effective damage per cast. But it costs 10% of your health every time that you cast one of them.
Right. It sounds interesting. I'm really excited to see what people do with it. And who knows, and even then, who knows, like based off what you've played and even what's been data mined on the PTR, who knows what changes might be made between now and full release. So.
Oh yeah, and right now it's only the set items. They have none of the little complementary stuff. So if this next update, it looks like we'll probably get the sets, but like I was mentioning, because they're kind of like generic sets, you have a lot of leeway to go through and start then developing builds, and it's that the developers are going to look at. They're going to be like, well, what skills are these people using with these sets? Oh, okay, a lot of people, if this blood build, a lot of people are going through and they really like Blood Nova. So, well, let's go through and make some bracers that give like further bonuses to Blood Nova, so that way people can use it with the set and feel better.
Right. Very cool. I'm going to bow out for 2 seconds because I got to go to the bathroom. So.
No pre-planning. Don't wait.
Right off
Don't
the
wait.
cuff.
Just go right in the seat, man. You bow out. I don't play Diablo enough to have that conversation with you, so...
Well, that's why I was letting them finish the thought.
New topic, guy.
I'm 100% okay with that, or I can continue to talk about Diablo for the next 2 hours. Your call.
You go ahead. I'll listen. Finish your thought.
Yeah, it's just that they have a lot of interesting takes. Like I love trying to analyze the things that they do, like from the mind of a developer. And because video games, it's always something that would always be like that cool idea of becoming a video game developer. Yeah, but it's going through and having to take a little bit of step out of the rest of life's responsibilities to kind of like work on that particular skill set. But
do you think there's any correlation between, like, you can draw a parallel between developers and gaming versus studios when it comes to movies? Whereas studios are, to a point, in my opinion, out of touch with what the public actually wants.
There definitely can be disconnect if the development team doesn't communicate with like the fan base.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
but
something
with Blizzard, I don't think you find that to be true at all. I think Blizzard is super connected. No?
They go through cycles. They honestly go through cycles. Each development team has had good times and bad times about whether they hold back or they communicate a bit more with their fan base and their community.
Right.
And it honestly is just having that open line of communication and actually going through and talking with your fan base. You can go through and make a change, and everyone goes and hates you for it. And you could go through and just kind of like give a preview and say, hey, we're thinking about making this change. And it might be like kind of like a negative reaction, but just the fact that you're going through and communicating with your community before you do it makes the reception a lot better.
Right. Welcome back.
Thank you. I didn't want to talk over him.
But yeah, that's it's just some of those just like communicating, and that's something that I've noticed, at least like Blizzard as a whole is usually really good about communicating those changes. Like the World of Warcraft team has gotten like really good at it, and it's something like the StarCraft 2 team actually struggled with for a very long time. It was a game that I was really invested and interested in, and they seemed to just be out of touch at the beginning. They started communicating the changes and their thoughts behind why they did things, and even though they were still going down like the same avenue, it wasn't really like they were changed the way that they were addressing balance. You had a better idea of why they were doing things, and so a lot of that negativity just died off,
right?
Because they're more open about it.
Very cool.
I think that's something that as a whole Blizzard's gotten better at. Because even in the vanilla and BC days of WoW, they were very hush hush, like nothing came out, like, but now where they are very much so an esport company, like, WoW still has its ground, and obviously Diablo, but it's leaderboards and stuff like that. But when it comes to Heroes and Overwatch and StarCraft and Hearthstone, like, they are very much an esports company. And in that situation, you have to listen to the player base. And then it becomes a game of balance, and in their case most often a very impressive balance, because you have to do something that is not only going to keep the competitive nature for the small percentage of pros, but also be something that's not going to screw over the majority of your casual players. And that's something that I think they do very well with Diablo, as much as a lot of the old school D2 diehards will tell you how much D3 sucks. For the most part, it's, people don't like change. But I mean, look at Heroes. They've done a really good job at keeping it balanced and keeping it simple for casual people that don't want to take on the load, the load that is League of Legends or Dota. Yet they've kept it competitive, and it's not as popular, but I don't think anybody expected it to be. But it's there and it's good. So.
And they do an amazing job. It's like whenever they release a new hero, you're like guaranteed 2 weeks from now, there's going to be a patch that's going to address, are they OP or are they underpowered? Well, we're going to go and make some immediate changes, but we're not going to go and do like just like a knee-jerk reaction. They let it sit in the wild for 2 weeks and see how it goes.
Right. Well, there has to be that level of, okay, it's overpowered. Let's give the player base a chance to counter it. And if it seems to be too much, we'll tone it. But like that's happening in Hearthstone right now with the release of Ungoro. You've got your rogue, your hunter, and there's one other one, warrior, that are just stupid powerful. I mean, I'm running the rogue deck right now, and I tell you that legendary quest that you start every game with, as long as it's in your deck. Yeah. I've had good draws to where I have that quest completed by turn 3. And then I have a preparation, so I have it casted on turn 4. And like by the end of turn 4, I have 5/5/5 sitting on my board as a rogue, which is ridiculous. And I've had plenty of games where whether I'm turn 1 or turn 2 and get the coin, the second I play that quest, people quit. They're like, well, I lost this one, I ain't gonna bother.
Yep. And there are definitely those ones where it's like you just see the end coming when you're playing against one of those particular types of decks. I know I was watching Eldorian, who's the co-founder of BlizzPro, going on his journey to Legend for this month, and like he basically, once he got to rank 5, apparently like everything that he was playing against, like 50% of his games was against like Murloc Paladin, and so he just made a deck that could beat Murloc Paladin, and it did okay against like the other stuff that he fought against, and so he made it to Legend just off of beating the meta.
Right. It's good when you have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
So I very much that's not a skill of mine. It's one of the reasons why, like with Magic, it was like I was I'm a net decker.
Are we talking deck building? Because that's definitely not a skill of mine either. I spent a good week playing Yu-Gi-Oh!
Magic the Gathering has always been like a sensitive subject of mine, and I'm like happy to say that it's like I haven't played that game in like 13 years. And then now they're releasing like an Egyptian themed set, and so tomorrow I'm going to a Magic pre-release tournament.
It's okay.
I have this thing for ancient Egypt. It's like ancient Egypt and like the undead and like the necromancers and stuff like that is just like this it's like this nerd fantasy archetype boner that I have for that.
Man, you must love all of them.
I do, actually. I do. I really love it.
I hate the desert zones in WoW.
They're my favorite.
Yeah.
And God, yeah. So as soon as I saw that they were coming out with like this ancient Egypt themed Magic expansion, okay, fuck it. I'm gonna have to buy the cards.
Right.
So
why not?
They find a way. They find a way to get you back in.
Yeah, but no, deck building's never been a strength. And again, same with Diablo. That's what I'll get my power level, and then I'll open the leaderboard, and I'll be like, all right, what sets up top? Mm-hmm. And then I don't just pick one and copy it. Like I'll see what the different flavors are and who's using what runes and things like that. But I think that some people will give shit for that. Same with net decking. Some people will give shit for that. I'm like, you know what? Yeah. Do I possess the skill to build it? Not necessarily, but you still have to possess the skill to play it.
Yeah, and that's actually one of those interesting things. Like when you make that correlation to Diablo, and it's something that we actually get a lot, both on the show, and then Leviathan and my personal streams, is that those people that are going through and like doing the top leaderboards, it might not be like the best build for you depending upon what it is that you're doing. Right. Because there's a lot of times people are going through and they're playing like this with the Demon Hunters for a very long time. It's been the Legacy of Nightmares Fan of Knives builds, and people will go through and do that, and it's just like I'm having like the gameplay is easy, but how do you complete like a Torment 13 Rift in like 3 minutes? I can't. Every single one of them takes me 6 or 7 minutes. It's like we need to use Unhallowed Essence. It's like you need to like, just because that's like the best build for Demon Hunters, that's the best build for pushing like to Greater Rift 90. It's not the best for speed running your lower level rifts for like leveling up gyms or going through and collecting Death's Breaths. And maybe it is like Shadows is actually really good at a speed running set.
It is.
Yeah, but you'll see in the higher like level Greater Rifts, and this is another question that we actually get a lot, is that like the higher end builds use another tiny set called the Endless Walk, where you get a damage bonus for standing still and a defense bonus for moving.
Yeah, it's the Wailing Host Traveler's Pledge, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's really good for pushing at the higher levels. For speed running, it does nothing because it's giving you a defense bonus because you're moving so much.
Right.
When you want a damage bonus. And for those situations, you probably use like a Stone of Jordan and a well-rolled like Hellfire Amulet. And so it's a question that we'll get. It's like, hey, why aren't you using Traveler's Pledge? Like, why aren't you using Endless Walk in this build? Well, it's because it's only a Greater Rift 70. You don't need it to do a Greater Rift 70. That will actually slow down my clear time. Right. I don't need that like the survivability bonus. I need the damage bonus. And so it's like it's answering those questions that there's definitely a lot of nuance that you can have in order to better your play,
right?
As opposed to even just like going through and copying those top builds. You can't go wrong copying those top builds, definitely, but you might be able to do things more efficiently.
Right. One thing that I always do, and maybe it's why I'm not one of the top, because I never see anybody else doing it. It's always worked for me, and I got them this season too. I always run Ancient Nemesis Bracers. And you never see them on the top builds, but you know what? Like, at least in my experience, that slight little bit of whether you're running the standard Shadow set and you have the bracers that increase your damage, or whether you're running Unhallowed Essence and it's the bracers that decrease the damage you take, the slight change with either of those bracers is never enough compared to the extra 4 orbs you get for every shrine. it just doesn't. It doesn't compare.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. Yeah, for the lower level greater rifts, yeah, that's 100% it. For those people that are like going through and like taking like shadows to like greater rift like 97, there's a lot of time they spend almost all of their time like going through and killing mobs. So going and spawning an elite could actually end up being bad for them, especially because with the introduction of like the Juggernaut affix. That basically they're immune to your Bane of the Trap damage increase. If it spawns something of Juggernaut, you basically wasted that entire pylon,
right?
And you're gonna have to skip it,
right?
And so it's like if you're going through and you're doing a speedrunning build, yeah, you're always going to have Nemesis. Or if you're running in a multiplayer group, normally the support character will run the Nemesis, so you can use something that boosts your damage.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, no, I like it, and it's always been a lot of fun, and it's always nice to get, especially when you're like you're trying to push that time a little bit. Again, just in the 70s, not pushing high.
Oh yeah.
And then, it's great when you get like the power and the conduit back to back, and then you're right there next to especially in a greater, because like if you're just a smidgen away, you pop both of those pylons, kill a couple things, and then everything dies anyway because it's a greater. So once the boss spawns, and then the boss just dies in seconds, it's always a good feeling.
Oh yeah, and like I live in the greater of 70s. There, I'm right with you. I am nowhere near like the top contender. That's Leviathan. Leviathan is the leaderboard topper.
Yeah, he's ridiculous.
Yep, he is a machine. He's actually a holographic projection.
I was bummed I didn't get to meet him. He lives right around the corner. He lives a couple hours from me.
Oh wow, yeah.
Which is in the We All podcast around the world is right around the corner. We were actually both at PAX.
PAX, yeah.
And then I didn't get to meet him. Like we just didn't run into each other. And but at some point.
Are either of you gentlemen? Did either of you score tickets for BlizzCon?
No.
Not this year.
Yeah, I didn't try. I'm going to Scott Johnson's Nerdtacular in Utah in June. No, we actually talked. I think we might have even mentioned it on Sonics and Sabers a while back. My hope is that the BlizzCon trip will be 2019, because that is also the year that the Star Wars land opens at Disneyland. So, and since the Anaheim Convention Center is literally right around the corner or across the street, it's like it's across the street. Yeah. So I'm like, all right. So BlizzCon and Star Wars land on the same weekend. So. And I figured that way,
I'm going to be dehydrated after coming so much.
drink lots of
Don't
milk.
Forget in the zinc
milk?
tablets.
Zinc tablets? Yeah, zinc tablets, blue milk. Yeah. That'll be exciting.
Yeah. Did you have something other than Diablo? Because that's what we do.
I know that's what you do.
But you guys talked movies last time.
You fucking youngins with all your time. I don't know.
I'm older than you.
I know. I don't know how you have the time to even understand all this stuff. What I don't understand, and I fucking play Diablo, right? So you're talking about all these sets and all this shit that you need. Sorry, I got fired up there. Turn me down, why don't you?
I did.
So how do you know what to use just like that, and where do you find it? Is this stuff you're making?
No,
or is this stuff you pick it up?
No, you pick it up. But you could probably answer this better than me.
I guess it's like one of the amazing things with Diablo is there are only very few items that have a specific place that you can farm them for. And it's a very small, selection of items. And they're not really used in much of anything. So it does that in and of itself, like the bounty legendaries don't even really matter. Everything else is just random drops. You can find it anywhere, playing at any point in the game. So it really comes down to just the more time that you put into it, the more drops you'll get, the more chance you'll have to get. So
it's inevitable that you're going to get all the things you need if you play long enough.
Exactly.
Eventually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't fucking die.
Right.
Yeah.
No, Diablo for me. So when you make a character, like especially doing seasonal, you have the gift. The Hadrix gift, which is if it's your first character or you focus one character, from like the way I play it, that's always my start point. I have the Demon Hunter, the Wizard, and the Crusader until they couldn't figure out how to make it fucking work. But the Demon Hunter and the Wizard. So I look at the two, and depending on which set it is the one I'll pick. 99% of the time it's the Demon Hunter. The last time I picked Wizard was season 9 because it was the Shadow set, and Shadow set still sucked.
Yeah.
So now, if it's Marauder or Yui or anything like that, and then I go based off that. So then I'll either leveled or I'll get power leveled, and then it's usually once you can solo Greater Rift 20, you get your 6-piece set basically with the gift.
Yes. Yep, that's usually like the last thing that most people accomplish to finish Chapter 4 and get their 6-piece set bonus.
Right. So I get my 6-piece, and then I build off that. So just because it's the most common thing, Yui, the multi-shot build. So at that point in time, I'm going to start doing Keymaster farms for my Hellfire Amulet. I'm hoping to get a focus and restraint pretty quick. Hopefully I get it before I get my 6-piece. It's happened a couple seasons. Most of the times it doesn't. I need my Yangs. I need my Deadmans. And I'm piecing together what I want to do. While I'm doing that, I'm also monitoring the leaderboard. And the reason I'm monitoring the leaderboard, it's not so much because I want to be top, but I know that my 1 to 2 week goal is to at least get to the second to last season journey so I get my stash tab.
Right.
And then at that point, I'm like, okay, well, maybe in this particular patch, there's something about Yui that makes it so soloing that 75 isn't quite as easy. Maybe Marauders is better for it this season. Or in this season, it was Shadows. So I'll look at the leaderboard and go, okay, so I have my Yui build. I have the build I want for the easiest path to completing the season journey. These are the pieces I'm collecting. The beauty of hardcore is it's never a bad thing to hold on to everything. 9 times out of 10, if I die, again, like we talked about, I'm losing my gems, and any Caldesians I might have used. But once I get repower leveled back to 70, I have a 6-piece set.
Yeah.
I'm never not farming Torment 6 or higher.
It was really funny because this last death that I had, I was in basically we were just going through, we were actually speed running Greater Rift 75s, and I had a little bit of a lag spike, and I got I got swamped and killed because I was lagging behind the rest of the group.
Right.
But throughout playing that night, I had gotten a couple pieces which were actually better than what I was wearing. But I didn't have time to properly enchant them and such, so they just immediately went to my stash tab.
You died and upgraded.
So I died, got back to 70, and I had better gear than what I was using at the time. The only thing that I lost was just, I lost the legendary gems, but I'm just going back through and leveling them up now.
Yeah, and now especially because as hardcore players, we get the didn't die bonus roll, and then by the time you've seen your 15th. Boon of the Horde, with the vault, you have plenty of gold, so it's basically a guaranteed 5 gem rolls every time, so that ain't so bad. They go it adds up pretty quick, but no, especially when you're dumping level 65 gems into your gear, the time consumption gets up there. How high do you usually go on your gems before you bother putting them into your gear?
I usually shoot. When you say putting, you mean augmenting?
The gift, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called.
I usually shoot for around 60, 65.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually a lot like you. I go to complete the seasonal journey, and then that's about as far as I push from there at that point. And so that only means going through and completing a Greater of 75. I feel confident at going through and getting it to 65, which you have a 100% chance to upgrade your gym as long as the gym level is 10 levels lower than the Greater Rift. So if I'm shooting for 75, or I'm comfortable just chain running 75s, I can get them up to 65, go through, augment the gear, and then maybe by the end of the season I can be pushing some 80s. And at that point, for me, it's just for farming paragons.
Right. What are you up to for a Paragon this level, or this season?
The season, I think right now I'm at 724.
Yeah, I was somewhere between like 670 and 690 when I backed up.
Yeah.
I haven't played in a couple weeks. I don't remember what happened. I got sidetracked, and then it's just one of those things where I fell off and then started doing. Well, I started painting Warhammer figures, and then
Nice. We
Yeah.
can talk about that.
by all means, I just started, and I just put the wash and the dry brushing on my first one.
That when I saw that that Facebook post of yours, that is just like when it had like the little Chaos Space Marines, it's like, oh, it made me so happy.
Yeah, there's another whole rabbit hole and another hobby I can't afford to get into.
Well, I have so many friends that do it, and I have a couple close friends that have been doing it for, a decade or almost a decade. It just looks like so much fun. And one of my biggest contentions with myself.
I didn't know if you could really see it too much, but yeah, I've got some Tyranids in the background that I'm going through and putting together and working on.
See, I know nothing about the game yet, other than what I've learned from playing like the PC versions of them. Right now, it's purely the habit of painting. I guess Warhammer's got a new rule set coming out in the near future, and I was told to wait until that drops because that will that's going to be simpler and it's going to be easier to get into.
Yeah, they go through. It's kind of like Warhammer 40K is kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, where you'll have like just the big overarching rule set. Right now we're in 7th edition.
Yeah.
And 8th edition is rumored to be dropping this summer.
Yeah.
And they did a big change a couple of years ago with they have the 2 franchises, the Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer 40K. It's your Lord of the Rings and your sci-fi.
Right.
And
your Warcraft and your Starcraft.
Yeah, and for the Warhammer Fantasy, they did a huge change where they rebooted the setting, and they changed it to what's called Age of Sigmar, and they super simplified the rules. It didn't really lose any depth, but it made the game a lot faster, in my opinion, a lot funner to play.
Right, and then some of those rules are coming over to 40K with
exactly. I think that they're going to still keep a certain level of the complicatedness of 40K, but they're going to be simplifying and streamlining some stuff. So yeah, the game is going to change probably rather drastically.
See,
once this comes out.
I get torn because like obviously 40K is the more popular one. I guess maybe it depends on your location, but based off of everything I've heard, at least in the areas that I would be playing, 40K is the more popular one, and whatnot. But for me, aesthetically, it's Age of Sigmar. Like it's again, it's the same reason why it would always be Warcraft over Starcraft.
Yeah, see, I disagree.
It will always be fantasy over sci-fi.
No. Sci-fi.
But you still have some of that in 40. You've got your orcs in 40K.
Yeah.
But and whatnot. But it's no, I'm loving it, man. I'm watching videos, I'm talking to friends. Different little techniques like, thinning the paints and doing your washes and doing your like all that stuff. I didn't know how I would take it. I wanted to love it and I hoped I would love it, but other than painting miniatures, I fucking hate painting.
But I mean, you just basically got to like the liquid skill part where you go through, you paint it and then you put the wash on it, and then all of a sudden your model looks 10 times better. Right,
and it's crazy. Like, did you see that 3-part picture that I shared on my public Facebook page?
No, it was like I don't think that I saw it.
It was like the very first paint, and then the middle paint, and then the post-wash dry brushing paint.
Yeah,
and it was like stupid, decent, looks really good.
Right. That's as simple as it is.
Right. And then so that's just one of those things where, it's I'm loving it. And I was told it's fun, it's relaxing. If you either love it or hate it, but if you love it, it's very zen. And I figure, especially these days, whether it be gaming or live streaming or podcasting or whatever the case may be, so many of my hobbies put a screen in front of my face. And it's nice to have something to where I unplug and it's right there. I'm physically doing something. I'm being creative. I'm developing a skill. It's something that I can do with the kids. It's something that I can, you can do whatever, go to the tabletop store and hang out with people and paint. Like there's a lot of different things. I streamed it. I streamed some base coding on my Facebook page. That was kind of fun.
Yep.
But again, what's that?
That's actually something that I really want to do. Is like go through and like do a stream or something, like a creative stream of going and like painting the models and such. But it's something that I'm actually waiting on approval from legal, because I actually am a Games Workshop employee, and so I don't know whether I can stream it or not.
Oh, okay. So you work for games? Do you work at the retail store or?
Yeah, I work at one of the retail stores. I'm one of the on calls, and so it's only like 1 day a month, but it's like 50% off everything. So
nice.
Well,
So
there
it's
you
totally
go.
worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Should look into that.
Yeah.
one day
Yeah.
a month, 50% of everything. Yeah.
Then I'll
Pretty
then I'll
much.
be into it, right?
Right. Yeah, because shit gets pricey. I was just telling him tonight, like we were talking about, like, yeah, go to Walmart and get an X-Acto knife for $2, or
Yeah.
go to a Games Workshop store
Yeah.
and get a Citadel X-Acto knife for $25.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. Well, yeah, no, I'm loving it. Yeah, so follow. Make sure you follow. I'm assuming you follow my social media personality Facebook page. It's hard to tell now because my personal page and my public page both have the same name and same profile picture.
Yeah, I'll have to go through and check that.
I can check and toss you an invite if I don't. But yeah, that's where I'm going to be focusing all of my, like, even when I just like hop on and do like my drive streams where I'm in the car and I throw the iPad up and do live. That's where I'm doing it all. That way it's widely public, so it has a chance to hit a larger audience. But yeah, I'm trying to rebrand the social thing and be like, yeah, I just do everything. So follow me and something is bound to catch your attention. But, you know, making myself
If
that
it doesn't,
social
I will
media
make
whore.
you.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, like going back to that point that you were mentioning earlier about like the fantasy versus sci-fi. That is something that, like, the 40K definitely is the most popular of the two franchises. But like at my hobby shop, my local Games Workshop, it thankfully is a pretty good spread. Almost everyone there plays both.
Right.
But we have people that only play 40K, and we've got like one guy that only plays Age of Sigmar.
Right. Yeah.
So it's I actually nowadays I prefer the Age of Sigmar, but you know, sometimes it can just be harder to go in, because when you're dealing with like some of the larger point games, you're basically like moving like a lot of stuff. You've got a lot of cases and stuff that you're carrying around with all of your models. And so you usually only bring like one army at a time. And most of the time people are just going to be like, unless you set up something ahead of time, people are just going to bring in, you know, like their 40K army.
Now, what does one army consist of? Because we had this conversation earlier in the night.
Yeah. I was going to say, he'd be the guy to ask.
I'm asking.
Yeah. Okay. So an army, basically, when you go to play a game, you make a determination beforehand of what level of game that you're going to be playing. And now the games are more or less balanced around a point system. And so you agree, we'll play 1,000 points, or we'll play 2,000 points. And then at that point, you know like how many of those points and what you can bring to the table. And there are rules around actually constructing your army. There is, like, in the base rule book, there is like a core way of going through and building it, where you have like one HQ unit and two like basic troops, and then you have limitations on like everything else. So, you know, if you want to go through and take like a huge like artillery unit that can shell people from, you know, the other side of the board, you know, you're limited in how many of those that you can take. But they also, since 7th edition, they've introduced another way of building the army, which is kind of like taken over, and it's things called formations, where it's like it will be, if you take, you know, unit X, Y, and Z in this combination, you don't have to follow the base army rule guide. You can bring them just as this, and you'll also get special rules on top of that because you're bringing these units together like in this specific like battle formation. And so there's a lot of different rules for going through and doing it. And that's actually one of those other things that I enjoy with Age of Sigmar, is it's a lot simpler. With Age of Sigmar, it's basically, you know, everything has keywords on it. You know, like they'll have like, you know, hero, like monster or battle line or something along those lines, and so that way it will be like if you're playing a 2,000 point game of Age of Sigmar, you can have you can use 0 to 6 leader or hero type units. You have to have 3 battle line units, which is kind of like your tax. They're always the weaker units, but it's something that you just have to bring as kind of like a tax. And then you can only take like 4 war machines and 6 monsters, and then everything else, whatever you can fit. So it's a very like simple way of building an army.
It sounds like a lot of rules on
get all
top
that?
of rules.
Yeah.
Sounds like something I'm not going to have patience for.
Chess also has a lot of rules the first time that you play it, but afterwards
but that is my favorite board game.
It's kind of like...
And I will beat you.
It's kind of like football. If you watch it, there's a lot of shit you have to pay attention to. But once
offsides?
But once you know it...
Yeah.
Or same with hockey. I can't tell you for the longest time, I had no fucking idea what icing or offsides meant. We always turned those off in the Genesis games. NHL 94, icing and offsides are off. And you just kind of learn it. And then once you learn it, you actively pay attention to it. It's not something, and then you just subconsciously...
obviously. It's one thing to have somebody explain something like that to you that you have no frame of reference for.
Right.
But once you're actually in it, it's totally
Have you
different.
seen that new game by Fantasy Flight? It's the one that's like...
No, I haven't heard of that
one.
New from Fantasy Flight.
Fuck.
Fuck.
It's like X-Wing, but it's fantasy.
RuneScape?
No.
Well, you just sent it to me. What the hell is it called?
I've not seen the one by Fantasy Flight Games, but I have seen like the D&D Attack Wing.
No, it's hold on. I don't text Brandon that often, so I should be able to scroll back through and Rune Wars.
I have not.
It just there's a big full like 2-player box set out that's like $100 right now. And you paint, unlike X-Wing, you paint the models and stuff, but it looks like it has similar play style. Like you have like your movement things and stuff like that. Like I don't know enough about it. I've been shown how to play X-Wing once or twice, and I'm learning that as well.
X-Wing is a really fun game.
Yeah, I'm learning that. I have an Empire fleet that I'm slowly putting together. I just recently got the shuttle that is Kylo's ship. So, but so this is that, but it's fantasy, and instead of them coming pre-painted, they come like
primed.
you have. Well, they don't even come primed.
You sure?
Yep.
Conquer Terranoth.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I'm really getting into it. I like it because again, it especially in an era now where so many games are coming out to be more simple in the virtual world. It's nice to have tabletop bringing that back. And I mean, not that maybe it ever left tabletop, but to me, it feels like it's bringing it back because I'd never really played much. And it's nice to have a group and a community that enjoys doing that because it's a lot of, I'm finding a lot of fun in it. And again, the painting, like I haven't read a thing about Warhammer. I've played the games. I'm excited as fuck for Dawn of War 3.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
I love the games,
but I've never played it. But I got the chaos and I got some paint and I slapped some paint on it and I'm like, this is fun as shit. Like I'm really enjoying it. So.
Oh yeah. And hopefully, probably, maybe by July or something like that. We don't actually know what the actual release date for it is, but we should have 8th edition out, and then you'll be able to like start basically at the same ground level as everyone else. And people will still have like the experience of having played like just being familiar with a tabletop war game, but you'll just be starting at the same place with learning a whole new rule set.
Right. But, just local to me, there's a place out in Saco called The Complex that they do 40K on Thursday nights. There's a place in Standish called Crossroads. They do Age of Sigmar on Friday nights. And then 10 minutes from here, there's a Warhammer store. So, nice. Yeah. So, I mean, the options are there. And then, so like I said, I'm really excited. And I'm really excited to kind of get into it more. Again, I've got some really good friends that do it and they do it well. They go to the conventions and stuff like that. So no, I'm really excited to get more into that world. I'm excited to get better at painting. Like even not just like the playing is the playing and that's the social aspect that I'm excited as hell. But I I was, again, like I said, I was hoping that I would enjoy it, and I had a feeling I would. I didn't realize I would enjoy it as much as I do.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, when it's like one of those things, people will go through and see it, and I'm a relatively bad painter. I will fully admit that, but it's essentially come down. It's almost painting by numbers, honestly, because you have like the raised bits on the model. So it's like, well, I'm gonna paint the filigree gold, and then the base guy is green, and then the little eye shades will be black, and then Agrax Earthshade over the whole thing, and then boom, look at that.
I'm magical.
Yeah. Agrax Earthshade. It is liquid skill. It is liquid. It is literally skill in a pot.
Right.
It is as what is like referred to. And once you start going through and getting more into it, you need to watch like the Warhammer TV on YouTube.
Yep.
With our Lord and Savior Duncan and his painting tutorials.
I'll have to check it out. Yeah, my buddy JF does a Warhammer podcast. I forget what it's called.
40K Radio.
Is it 40K Radio?
That's when he's on.
Yeah. So no, again, I mean, with the group of friends that I have, I'm deeply engrossed in the community, and now I'm happy and excited to be becoming a part of it. My holdback has always been, I was gonna say before you pulled out the miniature to show us, no, my personal contention has always been is I suck doing things that I suck at. That's why I play video games. After 25 years, they all play the same. So, I can pick up a video game and within minutes, I'm playing it well. And I very rarely is a game so difficult that I can't at least play it well on its hardest difficulty. Mm-hmm. That's why I like my video games. I'm good at them. I'm not the best. I'm not professional level. I'm not winning thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, but I'm good enough to not embarrass myself. It's hard for me to do things that are embarrassing. But I have a lot of friends that are helping me be like, look, just do it. Like, who cares? Like,
just do it, Nate. Just put it in.
You're gonna suck.
We all have that like super embarrassing like first model that you painted. It's we all have that, and then of course with everybody you'll probably lose your first dozen games, when you actually go through and start playing, because, you completely forget, oh, I didn't move that unit, or I forgot to shoot them, or I'm not just supposed to blindly kill all of your units. I have to take objectives, like in order to actually win the game.
Right.
And so you'll go through and you get messy, you make mistakes.
Right. I still do that. Like even Hearthstone. With the rogue deck, like a big thing of the rogue deck is everything okay?
Something is happening in the kitchen.
Are there mice in the kitchen?
Yes.
Yeah, but like, so one of the big things with the rogue deck is you play to complete the quest, you have to play the same character 4 times, like that with the new Ungoro thing. So you only have 2 in the deck. So you have to play one and then have some card that returns it to your hand and play it again. So the way that you get the biggest advantage out of that is you do that with monsters or with minions that have charge. Play them, charge them, return them to your hand, play them, charge them, return them to your hand. I can't tell you how many times I forget to fucking attack with something before I return it to my hand.
Yeah. I've done that a whole bunch. Like how many games that I played where it's like, oh, okay, I played my spells, I got my combo out, and then I hit end, and it's like, oh, I didn't attack with anything. I forgot to try and kill my opponent, that way that I actually win the game.
Right, but same thing, like even with like WoW, like I will tell everyone, like I am a pally tank because I pally tank really fucking well. I mean, I've been almost embarrassed to say how many times I've died from a boss because I forgot to hit my defense buff. or my finger slipped and I hit Alt 1 and 2 at the same time, so I popped them both at the same time. So, that first big cleave I had my buff for, but not the second one.
Yep. Oh, sorry, I didn't have a cooldown on that one.
Yeah. Where the fuck was my healer? It wasn't my fault. What are you talking about?
I must have lagged because I swear I pressed the skill. Look, it's on cooldown.
Yeah. But no, it's it's exciting, and that it's a new thing for me just in general, trying things, and even podcasting back in 2014 was that for me because I didn't have any experience. I listened to them, but I'm like, fuck it. So I went out, I bought some mics, I bought a mixer, and I'm like, we're fucking doing this. And the first 6 months of episodes were piles of steaming garbage. One could argue they still are.
That is many times how I feel about my own show. You know, it's just like, okay, we still have people listening to the show. Okay, all right, that's cool.
But no, we've gained plenty of acquaintances that are great friends and whatnot. And you know, I've had many people tell me that the biggest problem with our shows is our inconsistency. That the shows are great, the quality's great, the guests are good, the conversations are typically spot on.
Did the show end while I was gone?
No, we're talking about doing new things.
Oh, well. Let's do new things. I'm excited.
What do you want to do?
Leave the room. Did you drink my coffee?
No, I
touched my coffee. Don't you touch my coffee.
I couldn't remember if it was mine or yours. I don't know where mine went.
You drank it.
Did I drink it?
I don't know.
I don't either. Well,
Dude,
anyway,
can you tell that fucking Friday night, like after I've had a week of work, it's the end of his weekend and the beginning of mine. Can you see? Can you see it? Holy shit, dude.
That's fine. We can get around. I think we're sitting at about what? We're at like hour 15.
Yeah, hour 20.
Yeah, we're somewhere in that ballpark. We're probably good. Did you have anything that you wanted to chit chat about, or anything to come up? Anything coming up new, show wise, or anything you want to pitch or promote that we haven't already talked about?
Pretty much it's just, besides, the show, Westmarch Workshop, we're definitely trying to make it bigger and better every year. This year we had a bit of a rough start. Steven had a lot of health issues and stuff, and so I had to go and do a whole bunch of solo episodes just because we struggled with some of the same problems, like consistency with making sure that we were going through and doing it. And since our show only records like every other week, if we miss an episode, it's a month in between, shows.
What
and
nights
so
do you guys record it?
Wednesday. We basically record every other Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Oh. Well, if you ever need a guest host and you're willing to start like 45 minutes late, give me a buzz, because I'm home at like 9:45 Eastern.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm always willing to sit in. I love Diablo, and you guys are great to talk to. So.
Yeah, we might have to go through and do that sometime. Even because we're just trying to have this year we're also trying to do a bit more of having like the guests on and personalities and stuff.
Right.
And just we would love to have another Blizzard developer on. It's been a couple of years since we last had a dev on the show, but a lot of things that we're definitely going and pushing towards. BlizzCon is of course a big time for us in the Blizzard community, so it's something that we're looking forward to come November. The Necromancer release here in July, and I'm also just trying to make a push to stream more personally, just so that way I can play more games and talk about video games more.
Are you doing
something I'm passionate about?
You doing it on Twitch?
Yeah.
We should trade auto hosts. That's an amazing new feature they have. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I'll catch you with both my personal and the studio page.
Certainly, I can go through and add you onto mine.
Cool.
And because I got that renewed passion also just today when they announced the Twitch affiliate program.
Yeah, that's definitely something to gun towards, even if it's just a little bit of side cash on the side. Quick question we didn't talk about, and then we'll close it up. That you guys know of, are there any big major rumors concerning Diablo and its fate in regards to BlizzCon?
Nothing really at the moment. I guess like the mild expectation, or the safe expectation, is they'll probably announce a new class come this year's BlizzCon.
So do we think they're happy with 3 for right now? We're probably not going to see 4 for a while, if ever.
That is, oh god, that is a very long conversation. But it was the beginning of 2016. They went and started hiring for a Diablo unannounced project.
Right.
And a lot of people were hoping or praying that was going to be an expansion. But when you dig down deep and you look at it, they're hiring for an art director, a senior concept artist, Okay, they need art direction, stuff like that. But then like a senior lighting artist, a senior rigger, a senior UI artist, and then those things are kind of like the Diablo 3 engine is built. It's like the game's been released for at the time it was 4 years, and
Right.
the engine itself was more or less finalized for probably almost like 6 or 7 years
Yeah.
before that. And it's like they don't need a rigger or a UI artist. Why would they need a senior position for that? Then they need people that are that are good with programming for PBR, physical based rendering. The Diablo 3 engine does not use PBR. Like, this is something new. Like this isn't an expansion to Diablo 3. They're working on something else, and everything has just gone like dead quiet on that side. And
Wasn't there a thing with the dice as well? Like that was another give, was the dice in the BlizzCon bag. Like, wasn't the 4 scratched out or something? The 4 was misprinted?
The dice itself was misprinted, so that way instead of being on a 4-sided dice, normally on each one of the points on the 4-sided dice, it's the same number all around.
Right.
There was a misprint, so it was, instead of being 111, it was 411, which was the Diablo dice. Diablo 4, 411, or 11/4, the date of BlizzCon. And so it was one of those things. It was honestly just a production error and became like this huge conspiracy theory thing that they're going to announce Diablo 4 at BlizzCon.
Right.
But anyone that knows anything about Blizzard is that their production cycles are a bit lengthy. And if they only just began hiring for these high-level conceptual positions at the beginning of 2016,
Right.
it's going to be years before they have anything to show. And if we look at their last few releases, pretty much everything has been 1 year from announcement to release.
See,
they will not have a Diablo 3 where they have it going on for like 5 years from when they announce the game to when they release it. Everything since then, they announce it, it's released within the next 12 months from
Right.
the point that they announce it at. So, if just like a short-term goal, it's going to take them like 4 or 5 years to develop this game. So it's going to be 3 or 4 years before they announce it.
See, here's my contention, and it is kind of long, so we don't have to flesh it out right here. We can, I mean, maybe you guys can, if you like the idea, or if you guys haven't talked about it, talk about it on West Margin. I'll check out the episode. It shouldn't be Diablo 4. It should just be Diablo. They need to stick with what they're doing. Because
I totally agree with that.
Right now, their only sequel-based game anymore is StarCraft. And that's done. Like, I don't think we're going to see a StarCraft 3. I don't think we're going to see a Warcraft 4. They need to make it a platform. They need to make it to where once the game launches, there's never a sequel again. It's all expansion packs and patch updates. World of Warcraft is a 12, 13, 14-year-old game. We don't need World of Warcraft 2. We need engine updates. We need coding updates. It needs to support the new graphics cards, the new resolutions, the new everything else. We don't need a Warcraft 2 or World of Warcraft 2. Same with Overwatch. We're never going to get an Overwatch 2. We're going to get patches and updates. Same with Hearthstone. Same with Heroes. They need to do that with Diablo. Now, I really wish, I hope we don't get, I mean, maybe it will be more polished, but Diablo 3 as it is, they could just rebrand it as Diablo. Give us an updated engine, an updated UI, but keep everything as it is and make it a little bit prettier. But again, the same deal. You can drop the numbers, just make it so it's a platform and it's constantly upgraded by expansions, and that way your progress is continual. Your seasons are still there, but all your achievements are there. Like, it's not a new game, and you're just it's a constant state of updates and expansion packs. And I think that would be, because it works for everything else they do. I think there's no reason it wouldn't work for Diablo.
Yeah, and I hadn't thought of that, but I really do like the idea of it, like it just going through and, like you said, becoming a platform. Maybe not a MMO in a traditional sense, but at least what's the word? A persistent world.
Yeah, it just seems like the logical next step in gaming.
Yeah. I think World of Diablo, I don't think we'd ever see something like that. No. I mean, it would have been cool 10 years ago, but MMOs are a dying breed.
You don't need that.
And that's actually something that a really big Diablo and Overwatch community member, Riker. He did some interviews with one of the original developers of the original Diablo and Diablo 2, David Brevik, and he talked a lot about like the ARPG genre kind of like is at its limit, and someone needs to figure out some sort of like massive change in order to like push it forward, because otherwise like Diablo 3, Path of Exile, like Marvel Heroes and such, that's about all that you can like do with an ARPG, unless you do something drastic and change it, well, like what it is. And
even Diablo 3 did something drastic. I mean, Diablo 3 started that with the scaling mobs. They started it with, you don't need to play through the goddamn game 4 times to get to the max level. Like, because all the headaches that you still get when you go into Grim Dawn, all the headaches that you still get going into Path of Exile, Diablo 3 has removed all those headaches, which is, again, that's why all the purists bitch. I get it. But, we're more than halfway through a decade ago that Diablo 3 was released, which is scary.
Yeah, it's coming up next month, 5 years.
Yeah.
And like the interesting thing that he had to say with that is like, the follow-up question that Riker had for him, well, what is that change? And it's like, well, if I knew what that was, I would be making that game, not working for someone else right now. So it's like it's a big question. Really big question, as like what you can do in order to push the ARPG platform forward. And I think something like a Persistent World would be a nice step in that direction. Not like an MMO with a monthly subscription or anything like that.
Doesn't Marvel Heroes almost skirt that, because it's like an MMO and it's like an ARPG in an MMO world?
Kind of is.
It's sucks.
Something like close, like if you ever played like City of Heroes.
Yeah.
That like City of Heroes. So basically, like honestly like all of Cryptic's MMOs, like Star Trek Online and Neverwinter, they practically are like a hybrid between an MMO and an ARPG.
I really wish we could see Marvel Heroes being done by a company that didn't make it pay to win. I would love that setting in a well-developed ARPG.
Yeah, that game could be so great.
Because I mean that the original game itself, that was developed by David Brevik, which is basically, he's like one of the original creators. He practically is one of the fathers of the modern ARPG as we know it nowadays.
Yeah, but that doesn't always count for anything. Do you remember Hellgate London? And do you remember that? Yep. And do you remember that was advertised as being done by the original Diablo developers?
And that actually had more of the original Diablo
developers. And it was a
developers
steaming pile of horseshit. Actually, a steaming pile of horseshit would have been more worth the money, because at least you could have thrown it at somebody.
Yeah, and that's one of those ones where it always goes back, and like people like to go through and shit on Blizzard. It's like, it takes you forever to like do a game.
But look at Titanfall. Now Titanfall 2, I will give, is great.
Yeah, I love Titanfall.
But the original Titanfall, that was the thing. Oh, it's Vince from Infinity Ward, and it's the guys behind the original Modern Warfare, and it's a piece of shit.
It really comes down that and this is something that the Diablo 3 developers, because you have a few like Wyatt Chang, Travis Day, Joe Shelley, that are like the big like poster boys, because they go up in front of the camera and talk about the game and such like that, but they've always made it extremely clear it is 110% a group effort, and that they wouldn't be able to like have the game as it was if it wasn't for everyone involved, and like no one in particular is any more important. So it does require more than just like your game developer and your senior game developer. You have a bunch of associate developers that are going to be designing a lot of the aspects or testing a lot of the aspects that needs to go into it. You need to have a quality QA crew, but the big thing that like sets people like Blizzard and Valve apart from your Infinity Ward and stuff like that is time. Is Blizzard does have like production goals and stuff like that, and a calendar, like a release calendar, but they're very flexible with it. And it's one of those that like we're not going to go through and push out like a firm like release date because we're still going through, and we kind of like we'll set it like one production goal at a time, that we want to go through and we want to have, like our first pass of like skills done by this time,
and
so that way we'll have the time afterwards to then go through and do a second pass.
Right.
And they're given a bit more freedom, whereas that's the problem that happened with Hellgate London, is the game has to come out this date, this is how much money you have for your budget, and then it basically got to the point where well, we're out of time and we don't have money. Well,
let's release
the game.
Right. Make some of it back.
That's what they had to do. Yeah.
By the time they realize it sucks, we hopefully will have made up the money. But no, and the beauty of Blizzard too, and this is, and everyone that loves them talks about it, this is why they work. They aren't afraid to throw away a few $100,000 or maybe even $1 million or $2 million if it's just not working. Like look at Titan. Yeah. Imagine how much money and man hours was thrown away with Titan. But they weren't willing to release garbage. Now, who knows how much of that became Overwatch. Like, I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, or how many times was look how many years it took Diablo 3 to come out. How many times was that game thrown away and rebuilt from the ground up?
It might even be more than what you expect, because Diablo 3 actually started production in 2001.
Holy fuck, did it really?
Wow.
Yeah, Blizzard North, as soon as a month after they shipped Lord of Destruction, began development on Diablo 3.
Good God. I would love to know, like, it probably never got far enough to be fully playable, but I would love to know what the vision was.
You can actually see this was many years ago, but a lot of like the concept art and some of the 3D models and some actual stills from within the game engine of their version of Heaven got published. And basically what it was is the story that we've heard is that they had some like production issues and just kind of like a general direction of the game, and it was like at the time being developed like as an MMO, not as an ARPG. Right. And it was around 2004 Blizzard North was basically like wholly brought into Blizzard proper, because they kind of like wanted everything under one roof, because they were like a separate studio. Right. And it was a really long drive for a lot of the developers. They're going to have to move, over into like the Irvine area, and that's when a lot of people, like David Brevik, Bill Roper, the Schaefer brothers and such left, and they went and formed Flagship Studios to then go and make Hellgate London, which obviously, as we talked about, didn't do all that well.
Flagship Studios still around.
Yeah, and then production actually on that base thing that Blizzard North was making continued for a little bit. This is when Jay Wilson was then brought into the company to be the game director for it. It continued on that for a little bit, but then they ultimately kind of like scrapped a lot of it and went back to the drawing board. And so like it has a very long history, and it's like when it was like kind of like it was scrapped and kind of like redone from the ground up was like 2005.
Right.
So it was shown in 2008. It had already been developed for 3 years. Little did they expect that would be another 4 years before they launched the game.
Right. We're being told that you have the scoop on D4 and you just won't spill it.
Yeah, that's what they want to go through. That's a Watson, a longtime listener of the show, and he always comes and hangs out in my personal stream.
Nice.
He's my biggest fan.
Nice.
Yeah, because it's just occasionally while I'm going through and I'm playing, and it's like 2:00 in the morning, and I'm fueled 100% by energy drinks. Is the only way that I'm like still awake at that time of night after working like a 12-hour shift at the restaurant. And it's just like, I'll say Diablo 4 instead of Diablo 3. I'll just get tongue-tied. And so now it's kind of like a running joke that I know stuff about Diablo 4 that no one else does.
Right.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice. Well, we'll get ready to wrap up. We're right on the hour 30 mark, so not bad for an episode back. Appreciate you spending the time with us.
Oh, yeah, and thanks for. I know you're going through and talking about how people go and cancel on you, and then I had to go through and like work late tonight.
Hey, working late is better than canceling. I get that.
Yeah.
That's fine. So again, Western March Workshop, and your personal stream is just twitch.tv/Neinball.
Yeah, twitch.tv/Neinball. West March Workshop you'll find that at twitch.tv/BlizzPro.
Oh yes, okay.
Yep, or you can, the biggest way of going through and finding out anything is you can follow the show's Twitter at it is at the WM Workshop, And my personal Twitter is @9ballgamer.
There we go. As for the show here, you can catch us live every Friday night. I say every with a fucking grain of salt and a half.
Every Friday night.
Every other 6th Friday night when the moon is up and the crows are crowing. The crows are, I don't fucking know what I'm saying. But yeah, typically every Friday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, twitch.tv/Inked Geek Studios. You can also catch the live audio broadcast over Alpha Geek Radio. Or subscribe to it wherever quality podcasts are found. I have no idea who's on next week. I can probably look really quick and find out. Next week is Marcus Sally, who is another person we don't know, so hopefully he doesn't cancel. The week after that, we've got Sean Burns and then Mr. Michael Johnson.
Woohoo.
Dice Tomato. So we're going to close out April into May pretty strong. And then shortly after that is Nerdtacular. And I think I'm doing something there. I don't know. I disappeared for 6 months or for 6 weeks. I'm going to have to talk to Todd. We'll figure it out. But anyway, so again, check out Neinball shit. It's good stuff. And the podcast is great. If you love D3, you'll like it. If you want to love D3, you'll get a lot of information out of it. And at the very least, they're fun.
If you want to know about D4, stay up late.
Yeah, stay up late and listen to them get drunk.
Yeah, and if you just enjoy like a poor quality dick joke, you should go through Tune In.
That's all the reason I need.
A poor quality dick is a joke.
Mediocrity at its best.
At its best.
Oh, thank you again, Neinball. Whitney, doesn't matter. Do you care about fake internet name or real name? Doesn't matter either way.
No, that's actually something I've been making a little bit more of a push to. You know, it's like my the articles that I publish over on BlizzPro. I actually changed my publishing name to just see like Whitney Neinball Fairchild. Just I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I did. My Facebook public page was the X Cynic X whatever, and everyone calls me Cynic or Cynexe or whatever. So it's just fucking Nate.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a character. I'm me.
That's what you should do. Fucking Nate.
That's
what everybody knows you as.
Fucking Nate.
Oh, fucking Nate.
Coming from Fantasy Flight Games this
fall. Jesus.
Put Nate on your table.
All right.
Fuck Nate on your table.
All right. On that note, for Whitney, for Brandon, for myself, and for the rest of IG Studios, which is basically Brandon and myself.
Well, it's basically you right this particular second.
Thank you all very much for listening, and we will see you guys next week.